I've transferred your father's inheritance to my account, starting over with someone who actually understands me. My name's Trevor. I'm 43, been a financial planner in Charlotte for 15 years. The text came while I was reviewing client portfolios at my desk. Same desk where I'd helped hundreds of people protect their money from exactly this kind of thing. I read it twice. Then I looked at the bank screenshots she'd attached. The joint account showed zero. $8,300 gone, just like that. My wife Brianna was supposed to be on a wellness retreat in Sedona. Something about chakras and finding her authentic self. I'd paid for it naturally. Same way I'd paid for the emotional detox weekend in Asheville, the mindfulness retreat in Colorado, and the spiritual awakening workshop in California. She'd been different since my dad passed 6 months ago. Colder, more demanding about money, always pushing to understand our finances better, wanting access to accounts, asking questions about the inheritance. I typed back, "Understood. Have fun." Then I set the phone down and went back to work. The thing about being a financial planner is you see patterns. You learn to spot the warning signs. When someone suddenly becomes interested in joint accounts after years of letting you handle everything, that's a red flag. When they start asking about your father's will before the funeral's even over, that's another one. When they insist on having access to manage our money together, right after a significant inheritance hits your account, well, that's not a red flag anymore. That's a siren. My dad had been a mechanic, owned a small shop on the outskirts of town, worked 16-hour days, saved every penny he could. He'd left me everything. Not much by some standards, but it meant the world to me. It was his life's work, his legacy, his way of making sure I was taken care of. Brianna had always resented how close my dad and I were. She'd roll her eyes when I'd spend Sundays at his shop, helping him with the books or just talking. She'd make snide comments about Daddy's boy when she thought I couldn't hear. After the funeral, she'd started her wellness journey. Needed space to process grief, she said. Needed to find herself. Needed expensive retreats to heal her chakras. I'd suspected something was wrong when she'd kissed me goodbye at the airport. Too long, too intense. Like she was saying goodbye for good. Now I knew why. Brianna and I had been married 8 years. Met at a coffee shop downtown when I was 35 and convinced I'd stay single forever. She was beautiful, charming, said all the right things about wanting a stable life with a good man. The first few years were good. She worked at a boutique, made decent money, split expenses fairly. We bought a house together, talked about kids, planned vacations, normal married couple stuff. But something shifted after we hit year 5. She started complaining about being spiritually unfulfilled, began attending workshops about finding your higher purpose, started following influencers who preached about toxic relationships and limiting beliefs. My dad noticed it before I did. "She's pulling away from you, son," he'd said one Sunday while we were working on his books. "I see it in how she looks at you, like you're in her way." I'd defended her then, said she was just going through a phase, exploring herself, finding her path. Dad had just nodded and gone back to the ledger. He'd been right, though. The pulling away had been gradual. She'd stopped asking about my day, stopped caring about client stories or office drama, started spending more time on her phone, more nights out with friends I'd never met. The wellness retreats had started small, a weekend yoga workshop here, a meditation class there. But after my dad's diagnosis, they'd gotten bigger, more expensive, more frequent. "I need to process this energy," she'd say when I questioned the costs. "Your father's illness is affecting my spiritual balance." I'd paid for them because I loved her, because I thought grief affected people differently, because I wanted to be understanding. The warning signs had been there for months. She'd started asking about our finances more often, wanted to understand our investment accounts, our savings, our financial planning. Said she felt left out of important decisions. When my dad's will was read, she'd been right there beside me. Squeezed my hand when the lawyer mentioned the amount. Whispered about how we could really start fresh now with that kind of money. I'd thought she meant together. She'd pushed hard for joint access to everything. said married couples should share all their finances completely, made it sound romantic, like some deeper level of trust and commitment. I'd agreed to joint access on our regular accounts, but something in my gut had held me back from putting Dad's money there directly. Maybe it was all those years of seeing financial disasters in my office. Maybe it was just instinct. Whatever it was, I'd listened to it. I sat in my office for a long time after getting her text. Didn't call anyone. Didn't break anything. Just sat there thinking about the $8,300 she thought she'd stolen. The amount was perfect, actually. Enough to feel significant if you thought it was everything. Small enough that losing it wouldn't ruin me if something went wrong. See, the thing about financial planning is you always have contingencies. You plan for the worst-case scenario because people are predictable in their worst moments. Greed makes them sloppy. Desperation makes them stupid. And betrayal makes them overconfident. I'd seen it happen to clients dozens of times. The wife who cleaned out accounts during divorce proceedings. The business partner who transferred funds right before disappearing. The adult child who drained their aging parents' savings. They all made the same mistake. They thought having access meant having control. I opened my laptop and checked the real accounts. The Wyoming LLC was untouched. Dad's money was exactly where I'd put it 6 months ago, earning steady returns in a diversified portfolio. The trust fund I'd established was secure. The investment accounts were protected. Brianna had taken the bait money. The small amount I'd deliberately left accessible in our joint account after she'd pushed so hard for financial transparency. The amount that would make her feel victorious while protecting what actually mattered. My phone buzzed. Another text from her. I know you're upset, but this is for the best. We both know our marriage has been over for months. At least now we can both move forward honestly. Honest. That was rich. I'd been honest with her about everything except the one thing that mattered most. The one thing my gut had told me to protect. I thought about my dad, about all those Sundays in his shop. He'd taught me more than just how to balance books. He'd taught me how to read people, how to see what they really wanted, how to protect what mattered. Trust but verify, he used to say. And if you can't verify, don't trust. I'd verified Brianna's character over the past few months, watched her push boundaries, test limits, probe for weaknesses. She'd failed every test without realizing she was being tested. Now she thought she'd won. Thought she'd outsmarted me, taken what was mine, secured her future with whoever this someone who actually understands her was. She had no idea what was coming. I picked up my phone and typed a simple response. I hope the money makes you happy. Then I opened a new document on my computer and started making a list. Not a revenge list, a recovery list. Steps to take, people to call, procedures to follow. Brianna had made her choice. Now I'd make mine. 3 days passed before Brianna called. I was at my desk working through a client's retirement portfolio when my phone rang. Her number. I let it go to voicemail. Trevor, we need to talk. I know you're angry, but you're being childish by ignoring me. Call me back. I didn't call back. Went home, made dinner, watched the news, went to bed. Normal routine. She called again the next morning. Seriously, Trevor? This silent treatment is ridiculous. I took the money because it's what's best for both of us. You'll understand eventually. Still didn't call back. The third call came that afternoon while I was meeting with the Hendersons about their college fund. My secretary knocked and said it was urgent. Trevor. Brianna's voice was sharper now. I know you're there. Pick up the phone. We have things to discuss. I excused myself from the meeting and answered. What do you want to discuss? I kept my voice level, professional. The divorce paperwork. My lawyer says we need to file soon to make everything clean. And before you get any ideas about fighting this, the money transfer was completely legal. We have joint accounts, remember? You gave me access. I remember. Good, so let's handle this like adults. I'll file no fault. We'll split everything else 50-50, and we can both move on with our lives. What about the house? I'll want my share of the equity, obviously, and half of your retirement accounts. My lawyer says I'm entitled to spousal support too, given how long we've been married. I almost smiled. Almost. Your lawyer said that? Yes. He reviewed our finances and said I have a strong case, especially with documentation of all the money you kept hidden from me. Hidden from you? Don't play dumb, Trevor. I know there's more money than what was in our joint account. Dad's inheritance had to be worth more than $8,000. A mechanic who worked 40 years and owned his own shop. There's got to be hundreds of thousands somewhere. Now I did smile. She couldn't see it, but I smiled. You think there's more money? I know there is, and my lawyer knows how to find it. Hidden assets don't stay hidden during divorce proceedings. You should definitely have your lawyer look into that. Something in my tone must have registered because she went quiet for a moment. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Just that you should absolutely have your lawyer do a thorough investigation. I want everything to be transparent. Trevor, you're scaring me a little. You're being too calm about this. Why would I be upset? You said this is what's best for both of us. It is, but then I hope your lawyer finds everything he's looking for. I hung up. An hour later, she called back. My lawyer wants to meet with you and your attorney next week. We can settle this quickly if you cooperate. I don't have an attorney yet. Well, get one. And Trevor, don't try to hide assets. My lawyer specializes in high net worth divorces. He'll find everything. I'm counting on it. That evening, I did something I'd been putting off for months. I drove to my dad's old shop. The new owner had kept most of it the same, but it felt different without his presence. I sat in my truck in the parking lot and thought about the last conversation we'd had, 2 days before he died, when he was lucid, but weak. Son, I need to tell you something about money. I'd tried to shush him, said we'd talk about it later, but he'd insisted. People will try to take what's yours. Family, friends, wives, especially wives. Promise me you'll be smart about it. I'd promised. Thought I was just humoring a dying man's paranoia. Turns out he knew Brianna better than I did. The meeting with Brianna's lawyer was scheduled for the following Tuesday. I showed up alone, which seemed to surprise everyone. Mr. Sandlin, the lawyer said, shaking my hand. I'm James Patterson. I represent your wife in this matter. Brianna sat beside him looking confident. She'd gotten her hair done, was wearing a new dress. The wellness retreat had apparently been good for her complexion too. Where's your attorney? Patterson asked. Don't have one yet. Figured I'd hear what you have to say first. Patterson and Brianna exchanged glances. This wasn't how these meetings usually went. Well, Patterson continued, let's cut to the chase. We've done some preliminary research into your finances and we know there are significant assets you haven't disclosed. Such as? Your father's estate was valued at over $400,000 according to tax records, yet only $8,000 appeared in your joint accounts. Where's the rest? I pulled out a folder I'd brought and set it on the table. Right here. Patterson opened it. Bank statements, investment accounts, insurance policies, the LLC paperwork. Everything. He went through it page by page, his expression changing as he read. Brianna leaned over, trying to see. What is all this? She asked. Patterson was quiet for a long time. Finally, he looked up. Mrs. Sandlin, we need to talk privately. No, Brianna said. Whatever it is, say it here. We agreed on transparency. Patterson glanced at me, then back at her. The money you transferred from the joint account. It wasn't your husband's inheritance. What do you mean? I mean, the account you emptied was funded by your husband's personal savings. The inheritance money never touched any account you had access to. Brianna's face went white. That's impossible. I saw the bank statements. I monitored the account activity. You saw what your husband allowed you to see. The $8,300 you took was money he'd deliberately placed in the joint account. The real inheritance is here. He tapped the folder. In accounts and investments you never had access to. But that's illegal. Hiding assets from your spouse is illegal. Patterson shook his head. Not when the assets were never marital property to begin with. Your husband inherited this money 6 months ago and immediately placed it in a separate LLC and trust structure. Completely legal. Completely protected. I watched Brianna process this information. Saw the moment it hit her. "You set me up," she whispered. "No," I said. "I protected myself. There's a difference. The money I took is yours to keep," I said. "Consider it a divorce settlement." Patterson was reading something else now, a document from the bottom of the folder. "Mrs. Sandlin, there's something else. Your prenuptial agreement includes a clause about asset transfer without consent." "We don't have a prenup," Brianna said. "Actually, you do. Signed 8 years ago. Your husband's copy is notarized and witnessed." He showed her the document. I watched her read it, watched her remember signing it. We'd told her it was just paperwork for the house purchase. She'd signed without reading it. The clause was simple. Any attempt to transfer assets without mutual consent would result in forfeiture of all claims to marital property. "This can't be legal," she said. "It's perfectly legal, and the money transfer you initiated falls squarely under this clause." Brianna looked at me with something I'd never seen before. Fear. "Trevor, please. We can work this out. I made a mistake. I'll give the money back." I stood up. "Keep it," I said. "You've earned it." I walked out of that lawyer's office feeling lighter than I had in months. Not vindicated or triumphant, just free. Brianna caught up with me in the parking lot. "Trevor, wait, please, we need to talk about this." "Nothing to talk about. You made your choice." I was confused, emotional. The retreat, the spiritual work I've been doing, it made me realize things about our marriage that what? That you wanted out? Fine. You're out. But not like this. I don't want to hurt you. I stopped walking and turned to face her. "You didn't hurt me, Brianna. You showed me who you really are. That's actually a gift. The prenup, the hidden accounts, you planned all of this. I planned for the possibility. Big difference." She was crying now. Real tears, not the manipulative kind I'd gotten used to over the past year. "What about the person I'm seeing? You don't even want to know about that?" "No. His name is Derek. He's a life coach from the retreat. He understands my spiritual journey in ways you never could." "Good for him. Don't you care that I'm leaving you for another man?" I got in my truck and rolled down the window. "Brianna, I stopped caring about what you did months ago. The only thing I cared about was protecting what my dad left me. Mission accomplished." She stood in the parking lot as I drove away, still crying, still probably not understanding that this had been over long before she'd ever met Derek, the life coach. Over the next 2 weeks, I handled the logistics, changed locks, updated insurance beneficiaries, closed joint accounts, forwarded her mail to her sister's address where she was staying. She called a few times, trying different approaches. Anger, then guilt, then bargaining, then threats. I kept the conversation short and businesslike. The divorce papers arrived on a Thursday. I signed them immediately and sent them back. No contest, no complications. She could have the $8,000 she'd taken and nothing else. My lawyer called the following week. "She's trying to contest the prenup," he said. "Claims she was coerced into signing it." And? No case. The witnesses are still alive. The notary kept records and there's no evidence of coercion. Plus, the asset transfer she initiated actually strengthens our position. How long until it's final? 6 months, maybe less if she stops fighting it. She did stop fighting it. Derek, the life coach, apparently wasn't interested in a prolonged legal battle with an uncertain outcome. Funny how spiritual enlightenment disappeared when money got tight. The papers were finalized on a Tuesday in March. I was at my office when the notification came through. Didn't feel like celebrating, didn't feel like mourning. Just felt like moving forward. That weekend, I drove out to my dad's grave. Hadn't been there since the funeral, but it felt like time. "You were right about her," I said to the headstone. "Thanks for teaching me to be smart about it." The wind picked up, rustling the oak tree he was buried under. Could have been coincidence. Could have been him acknowledging what I'd said. Didn't matter either way. I walked back to my truck and headed home. Had a house to myself now, money in the bank, and a clear conscience. Brianna had started over with someone who understood her. I'd done the same thing, just smarter. The call came 6 months later while I was having lunch at my desk. Brianna's voice, but different. Scared. "Trevor, I need help." I almost hung up, but something in her tone stopped me. "Derek left me," she said. "Took the money and disappeared. All of it." I set down my sandwich. "What money?" "The $8,000 from our account, plus money I'd saved, plus money I borrowed against my sister's house to invest in his life coaching business." "How much total?" $37,000. I was quiet for a long moment. "Brianna, why are you calling me?" "Because I don't know what else to do. My sister won't speak to me. Derek won't answer his phone. His business was fake, Trevor. The whole thing was a scam. And you want what from me?" "I know I don't deserve it, but could you loan me enough to pay my sister back? I'll lose everything if I can't make her mortgage payments." I thought about it. Really thought about it. "No. Please, Trevor. I know I hurt you, but..." "You didn't just hurt me, Brianna. You tried to steal from me. You planned to leave me with nothing while you ran off with another man. The only reason you're calling now is because your plan backfired." I was confused, lost. "I made terrible mistakes." "Yes, you did. And now you get to live with the consequences. So that's it? You're just going to let me lose everything? You already lost everything that mattered. The rest is just details." I hung up. 2 years have passed since that last conversation. I heard through mutual friends that Brianna moved back in with her parents in Tennessee. Lost her sister's house, filed for bankruptcy, works retail now. Derek never resurfaced. Probably running the same scam on someone else in another city. I sold our old house and bought a smaller place closer to my dad's shop. Nothing fancy, but it's mine. Quiet neighborhood, good neighbors, space for a workshop in the garage. The inheritance money has grown steadily. Smart investments, careful planning, the kind of long-term thinking my dad would have approved of. I've been able to help a few clients avoid their own financial disasters, share some hard-earned wisdom about protecting assets and reading warning signs. Started dating again recently. Met a woman named Grace at a financial literacy workshop I was teaching. She's a teacher, divorced, has 2 kids. We take things slow, keep our finances separate, and she actually laughs when I talk about trust but verify banking strategies. She knows about Brianna, knows about the inheritance situation, says she's impressed by how I handled it, but I don't see it that way. I just did what my dad taught me to do. Protected what mattered, and let the rest sort itself out. Sometimes I wonder if I could have saved my marriage by handling things differently. Been more trusting, more open, more willing to take risks with my heart and my money. But then I remember that text message, the casual cruelty of it, the months of planning that must have gone into her betrayal. And I know the truth. Some people are worth the risk and some people aren't. The trick is learning to tell the difference before it costs you everything. Learning that lesson was worth every penny of my father's inheritance.